Episode 1 begins inside Derry town in 1962. Now we move to the night of January 4th, 1962, where we see a boy around 10 to 12 years old named Matty Clements, who is secretly watching a movie inside the Capitol Theater. He keeps sucking on a pacifier all the time, even though he is far too old to be using one. The truth is, there is a lot of sorrow and pain in his family. He also carries deep trauma inside him, and to deal with it, he has created his own coping mechanism, which is to constantly suck on that pacifier. Basically, he does it because of fear. The movie he is watching is called The Music Man, which works as a kind of Easter egg because it features a musician who hides his real identity from people and takes advantage of them. Exactly like the evil in Derry. Pennywise, who keeps taking different forms and preying on children, feeding on them. Now, Matty is troubled by life itself. He is lonely, traumatized, and there is no one in this world who supports him, becomes his friend, or stands with him. He wanders from place to place, and nobody really likes him or even feels sorry for him. He has no friends at school and no friends outside of it. Anyway, as he continues watching the movie, the theater manager spots him and tries to catch him because Matty always sneaks in without paying. Right now, he runs out to save himself. After rushing out into the hallway, he hides behind a movie poster. That's where a girl named Roni notices him. Meanwhile, the manager comes searching for him and runs into the theater's projectionist, Hank, who asks, why is he chasing someone? The manager explains that he is trying to catch Matty because the kid always sneaks in to watch movies for free and it's a loss for the business. Hank says the boy is helpless, his family is already going through a lot, so the manager should just let him go. But the manager is furious, insisting that business is not a joke. Roni doesn't reveal Matty's hiding spot. In fact, she helps him by telling the manager that Matty ran to the other side. Basically, she saves him. Before moving ahead, there's a small detail. The theater shown here is the Capitol Theater. It used to be a fun zone, a place where the kids from the first movie would come to hang out, joke around, and pass time. Later, it was shut down. And we saw it in the second movie too, when Richie, one of the Losers Club members, came wandering through the town, stopped here to relive old memories, and that's where his mindset shifted. He realized he would have to face Pennywise. Now, everyone remembers the Losers Club, the group of kids who fought Pennywise in the first part, and then 27 years later, battled him again in the second part and defeated him. You already know all their names, so there's no need to list them. When the manager heads to the other side, Matty steps out from behind the poster, but the manager spots him, and now Matty bolts out of the theater. If the manager had wanted to, he could have forgiven him. He could have shown a little sympathy, but there wasn't even a trace of compassion in him. And most people in Derry are exactly like that. That's why the evil living beneath Derry prefers to stay here, because even during Pennywise's 27-year hibernation, the darkness inside the people above keeps feeding him. He continues to draw strength from the cruelty that already exists in the town. Anyway, Matty is completely fed up with Derry itself, so he starts walking, trying to find a way out of town. He thinks he can live anywhere else, but he won't stay here anymore. And he has many solid reasons for that, which we'll learn about later. For now, he tries to hitchhike with the first car that passes, but it doesn't stop. Matty eventually reaches the entrance of Derry, where there's a "Welcome to Derry" sign with a picture of Paul Bunyan on it. Another reference we'll discuss later. Matty doesn't know where to go or how to go, and that anxiety overwhelms him. That's when another car pulls up beside him. Inside the car is a pregnant woman, her husband, their daughter, and a young son. The pregnant mother tells Matty they're heading to Portland and asks if he needs a ride. He says yes because he wants to get out of Derry by any means. He gets into the car, and at first, the family seems completely normal, fun-loving even. But slowly, things start to get very strange. The daughter opens a box of liver, dips her fingers into the blood, smells it, and smiles with satisfaction. She even tries to make Maddie smell it, which is disturbing. Meanwhile, their son is practicing spelling. He spells the first part of will, but his sister interrupts him. After that, he spells the rest, lies, which makes it clear that something deceitful is going on. The whole family begins acting bizarre, and Maddie notices that the car is entering Derry again. But the car never made a turn. So how is that possible? This reveals the time loops that operate inside Derry. One loop represents the 27-year cycle in which Pennywise returns. The other is created by Pennywise himself. He traps his victims inside loops to torment them because he is a cosmic entity. Panicking, Maddie begs them to stop the car, but it doesn't stop. He tries to pull the steering wheel, but that doesn't work either. Instead, his hand accidentally hits the pregnant mother's stomach. The mother suddenly goes into labor right there, and she begins giving birth. The scene is extremely R-rated and disturbing. In the most horrifying way imaginable, the baby is born, a mutated, monstrous infant with wings. It can fly, and we know what it does. It takes the form of a victim's greatest fear or trauma and attacks them with it. Maddie's biggest trauma was his own childhood, his own birth. And secondly, he always wanted to escape his problems by running away or flying far from them. So this mutated winged baby is a manifestation of his own deepest fears. The creature starts flying around inside the car, then finally attacks Maddie. Maddie panics and sucks on his pacifier out of terror. But suddenly, the creature smashes through the window, and the pacifier shoots straight out of Maddie's hand, falling down into a sewer drain below. And that's when the intro appears. It. Welcome to Derry. The beginning of death had already started right there. The pacifier was yellow, and in the first movie, Pennywise's first victim, Georgie, was wearing a yellow raincoat, which makes this an Easter egg. Now, the story jumps 4 months ahead to April. We're at the Derry Air Base where we see Captain Lilloy Henlin and Captain Paulie Russo. They've come here in case there's any issue at the nearby nuclear power plant so they can handle it. Colonel Fuller receives them and explains the plant, which is located out in the ocean and is the closest one to this base. These two were called in because they're exceptionally skilled at their jobs. Now, before moving further, I want to remind you of something. We already know Captain Henlin. How? Because in the first IT movie, you'll remember the Losers Club, one of its members was Mike Henlin, and Captain Henlin here is Mike's grandfather, whom we've already seen in the first movie. Here, they also notice a secret base, and the colonel tells them some secret operations happen there. That's when we spot a man named Dick Hallorann, and true horror fans will immediately recognize that name from The Shining. In The Shining, the Overlook Hotel's head chef was Dick Hallorann, and he was the one who met Danny and learned about his telepathic abilities, what we call the shining. Now, this Dick actually has the shine. He can sense evil, feel its presence, and he can even see Pennywise in his true form. Anyway, back on the base, a group of white officers treat Henlin with racism, one guy in particular, so the colonel steps in and scolds them. Henlin explains that he'll be staying on base for a while, after which his family will move here too. He's rented a house, and once it's ready, his wife and son will come live with him. Because he can't stay on base forever, he wants to feel a bit normal again. Meanwhile, at Derry High School, we see Lily Bainbridge entering the building only to find that some bullies stuffed pickles in her locker. The locker breaks and she feels extremely embarrassed. Her friend Mar helps her, and the two head to class together. Inside the school, we also see a turtle mascot, and you'll notice turtles appearing in many places. In fact, even in the Derry School intro sequence, a turtle shows up. This turtle represents Maturin, one of the 12 guardians of the universe and Pennywise's direct enemy. While Pennywise spreads chaos and terror, Maturin symbolizes kindness and creation. Inside the school, we also see two kids, Phil and Teddy. Teddy is the academic type, while Phil is curious and observant. Phil points out that several planes have landed at the airbase in the past 48 hours. He suggests something is happening inside the secret room. Maybe a monster was found frozen in ice or from Mars or somewhere out in space, and maybe it's about to attack people. He says an alien could be among them, killing everyone. And honestly, Pennywise is basically an outer space cosmic entity. He literally came from beyond. Anyway, later that day, Phil and Teddy are at home. Phil is spying on his neighbor undressing. He was extremely curious about this moment, but her cat ruins the whole thing. Now, Teddy brings up Maddie, saying it's been 4 months since he disappeared. Phil claims Maddie is probably dead or ran away because he had no friends, but since his body was never found, he must have run away. Teddy insists that they were his friends, but Phil snaps back saying no, they weren't. Maddie's mom just gave them chocolate, so they went to his birthday parties. Teddy gets angry at Phil for that. Meanwhile, we see Lily at her home looking at her bracelet as she remembers Maddie, because he used to be her friend too, and he had once gifted her a turtle. There was a time when Maddie and Lily went to the secret spot used by Phil, Teddy, and Maddie, a viewing deck on top of an old building that had been closed to the public. But since the caretaker barely paid attention, the kids claimed it as their own hideout. There, the two of them sat, talking and eating snacks, the kind that came with toys in the packet. Lily got a toy rocket, which she didn't like because she always got rockets, but Maddie got lucky. His toy was a turtle. He gave it to Lily, and she said turtles were lucky. That was the same turtle she had attached to her bracelet, the reason she had been remembering Maddie. And all of this happened on the night of December 31st, 1961, just before midnight.
Maddie had probably brought Lily there to spend some good moments together because both of them had lived through pain and sadness. Maddie then asked about Lily's father, because everyone always said strange, unpleasant things about him. And that's when we learn about her dad. He worked at a pickles factory. One day, Lily and her mom went to pick him up, but Lily had forgotten something inside and went back to get it. Meanwhile, a machine was running. He tried to shut it off, but the machine malfunctioned, or maybe he didn't understand how it worked, and he ended up getting pulled inside and trapped. He died in that machine, even though that wasn't even his department. He was just trying to help. Lily still carries the guilt and trauma of that day. It's so heavy that she hasn't visited her father's grave in a year. Anyway, midnight hit and 1962 began. Both of them wished each other a happy new year as fireworks exploded all around the city. They talked for a bit, and since Maddie liked Lily, he leaned in, trying to kiss her, but she got nervous, moved back, and didn't know what she was supposed to do. She apologized, and Maddie walked away. He had truly believed Lily liked him too, and that belief had brought him a rare moment of peace. But when he realized she didn't see him that way, only as a friend, his heart shattered. That's why he ran off. And you already know what happened on the night of January 4th. Lily carries immense guilt because of it. She keeps thinking, if only I had kissed him that night or talked to him, maybe he would still be alive. Back in the present, her mother tries to talk to her, but Lily can't shake her grief. She's alone in the bathroom when she suddenly hears Maddie's voice coming from the sink. He's singing a song. It's the same song from The Music Man, the one we saw in the beginning, the same movie Maddie had watched. Lily tries speaking to him. Maddie, is that you? He replies, yes, it's me, but I can't come out. He won't let me out. Then two blood-soaked fingers slide out of the drain and quickly retreat back in. But of course that wasn't possible. No real person could survive for months inside the sewer, and those pipes were way too narrow for anyone's fingers to fit through. So we know exactly who was behind all of this. Pennywise. The next day, Lily tells Marge everything, and Marge warns her not to say a word about this to anyone else. People already call her crazy. They'll only use it against her. But Lily realizes Marge isn't concerned about her well-being. She's worried that if she stays close to Lily, people will think she's crazy too. Hurt and disappointed, Lily walks away. She thought Marge was her friend, but she was wrong. Anyway, Phil and Teddy head to their secret hideout, the same viewing deck, where they find Lily already sitting on the bench outside, waiting for them. She had come to talk to them about what happened, the fingers she saw in the sink, and Maddie's voice coming through the drain. She tells them everything. Phil immediately says, "How is that even possible? First of all, how could he still be alive? And second, out of thousands of pipes, how did he find your bathroom pipe? And even if he did, how could a kid's fingers come out of such a narrow pipe?" It was impossible, and Phil knew it. Teddy, however, says that if aliens can exist, then maybe this is possible too. But really, he just wanted to believe Lily, even though he didn't. He hadn't seen or heard anything himself. Lily gets frustrated and walks away disappointed. Meanwhile, we see the colonel talking with Henlin. Henlin had served in the last Korean War, but the operation he was a part of never reached completion, so he was transferred here. That same operation had left him with the scar across his cheek. He explains that his father used to own a farm where he would be sent to work with the neighbors, but he eventually decided to join the army instead because he didn't like farm work. The colonel talks about himself too. His father was also in the army and fought in many wars, so he joined as well, making his father very proud. The colonel also tells Henlin that the soldier who failed to salute him earlier, the one who insulted him, has already been punished. The man will be cleaning latrines for a week. Meanwhile, Teddy is at home asking his father if it's possible for someone to trap a child inside the sewer for 4 months. Could a kid even survive down there? His father responds by saying there were people who had suffered unbelievable torture, whose skin was turned into lampshades, the cloth that covers a lamp bulb. He tells Teddy that real horror exists and that Teddy should stop imagining fictional horror scenarios. Teddy's father didn't know that his son wasn't talking about comics or fiction. He meant real life, but he assumed he'd read too many comic books and his mind was getting carried away. Later, Teddy goes to his room and starts reading a detective comic, the same series we now know as DC Comics. Then the lamp in his room suddenly turns off by itself. When he looks at the lampshade, he sees terrifying faces on it, faces that looked like the same human skin lampshades his father mentioned. He panics and screams. His brother runs into the room and everything is completely normal again. His brother, annoyed, asks why he acts like this and even questions if they're truly brothers. The next day, Teddy tells Lily and Phil what happened. Phil says that this means that Teddy is now the only one who has seen this thing too. He believes Teddy because he's known him since childhood, and whenever he told the truth, he always used to puke. He was doing that now too. So Phil becomes 100% convinced that what happened to Lily and Teddy is real. They decide they need to tell someone, but they also know that if they do, everyone will think they're crazy and ship them somewhere else.
They don't want that, so they make a decision. They won't tell any adults. They'll investigate it themselves and figure out what's going on. For that, they head to the library, and Phil's little sister Susie ends up joining them as well. Now they start reading a newspaper article that said the police suspected Maddie had been killed either by his father or by someone else, but they never found any evidence. And when he disappeared, the last person to see him was Ronnie, the same Ronnie who saved him earlier at the theater. Now they go to Ronnie to see if they can learn anything useful, and when they talk to her, she's already angry because the police had questioned her over and over again. On top of that, they had tried to frame her father, which shows how many things were going on here. And yes, racism was at play too. Anyway, she starts to walk away, but stops when she hears them talking about Maddie's voice coming through the pipes.
that he was singing. She tells them she has also heard kids crying and singing from the theater basement. Meanwhile, we see Hanlon getting ready to sleep. He's looking at a photo of his wife and child. He reads a newspaper that mentions the Paul Bunyan statue that was about to be built in the town. An Easter egg, because in the movie, Pennywise possesses that statue and attacks people. Hanlon is about to go to sleep when suddenly 3 masked men break into his room and attack him, demanding full information about a specific aircraft. He tells them the information is classified. They can kill him if they want. He won't say a word. Just then, Polly, his partner, hears the struggle and comes in. Together, he and Hanlon start beating the 3 men, but the masked attackers manage to escape. Now look, this attack? I'm pretty sure the colonel had it staged to test Hanlon's bravery, to see whether he could keep classified information to himself. And I feel like in the next episode, the colonel is going to tell him something extremely dangerous. Anyway, now we see Phil, Lily, Teddy, Ronnie, and Susie, who Ronnie had taken to the theater to show them The Music Man, because Maddie had been singing a song from that movie through the pipe. Ronnie was in the projection room, and she started the film from there. Phil, Teddy, and Lily were all crying as they remembered Maddie. Phil and Teddy cried because Maddie never had any friends, and he just wanted to be friends with them, but it never happened. Or you could say they never wanted to make him their friend. They took him to their secret hideout only once, and Maddie's mom had even given them candy so they'd come to his birthday party because no one else ever came. But they never went. They forgot. And now that regret was hitting them hard. They thought if only we had gone that day, maybe he'd be alive today. But how could he be alive? Maddie's birthday was actually on the 4th of January. His mother tried so hard to make sure he wasn't lonely. She invited Phil and Teddy by giving them candy so they'd come to the party. But they didn't go. Not even to see him, because they forgot. He ended up spending that day alone. He even liked Lily, and he thought maybe she would come, but she never did either. Now the guilt was starting to eat them alive. Phil and Teddy, who never became Maddie's friends, and Lily, who nobody liked except Maddie. He understood her, he cared for her, and she never understood him back. Never stopped him, never helped him, and now he wasn't there anymore. Basically, Lily realized that she treated Maddie the same way everyone else treated her. Anyway, suddenly they see Maddie inside the movie, and they even spot the 2 kids from the car inside the film too. Now inside the movie, Maddie starts talking to them, and he's holding a child in his hands. Then he tells all 3 of them that it was their fault, and he starts laughing in an evil way. He was saying that because of them, he wasn't among the living anymore. He was making them feel even more guilty, even though we know that wasn't Maddie, it was it. He was holding a child, and suddenly he just drops it. The child turns out to be that same monster baby from the beginning of the movie. And now this creature climbs out of the ongoing film and starts attacking them in real life. This dangerous, demonic baby grabs Phil and Teddy, lifts them into the air, and tears them apart and kills them. Ronnie, watching from the projection room, sees everything and is terrified. Lily hides under a chair watching everything, and she sees Susie. She grabs Susie's hand to pull her to safety, but the monster attacks her too. It takes her away. Meanwhile, Ronnie was still locked out inside the projection room by its powers, but she finally managed to escape. She pulls Lily out of the movie room. She keeps saying that the monster killed everyone. Ronnie asked, "Who? What are you talking about?" Then she notices her own hand. She's holding Susie's severed arm. That's when she realizes Susie is dead.
Seeing this, Ronnie screams at the top of her lungs, and boom, just like that, the first episode ends.